Zang Fu, The Organ Systems of Traditional Chinese Medicine by Jeremy Ross. Page 178. Chapter 14. Zang Fu Interrelationships. Zang Fu. This chapter has briefly discussed Zang Fu interrelationships in terms of yin-yang, substances, Jingluo, and tissues. Chapter 13 briefly considered the interrelationships of the five Zang with each other in health and disease. The relationship between the five Zang and six Fu is that the six Fu are basically concerned with the digestive process and the passing of relatively impure digestive products from one hollow organ system to another, until the least pure fractions are voided to the exterior. The five Zang are intimately associated with the six Fu in the function of digestion, but are also concerned with the storage and the distribution of the pure substances qi, shui, jingye, jing, and shen. Zangfu pairs. Traditionally, each of the Zang is paired with the Fu system, Shen with Pangwang, Ti with Wei, Gan with Dan, Xin with Xiaochan, Fei with Dachan, and Xinbao with Sanjiao. As mentioned on page 64, some of these pairing reflect clinical observation. For example, the very close association between the Zang and Fu system in the first three pairs. But the latter three pairs seem to have been created more to fit the theory than to fit the fact. The physical and pathological relationships between Xin and Xiaochang, Fei and Dachang, and Xinbao and Senjiao are minimal and of no great clinical importance. A more realistic grouping of the Zangfu could be expressed. Fei and the Xinbao system do not have the close relationship with the Fu system possessed by Shen, Pi, and Gang. And Senjiao is more an expression of the function and relationship of other Zangfu than a Fu system in its own right. Zangfu and the origins of disease. The Zangfu will not now be considered in terms of the origins of disease. Generally, unless the external disease factors are extreme and themselves weaken the body, external disease factors only invade subsequent to previous weakening by other factors. These may include trauma, previous illness, emotional disturbance, and congenital weakness. Or there may be a combination of a number of disease factors. In other words, if Zangfu are strong and in harmony, the body is healthy. And if Zangfu are weak or in disharmony, the body may manifest signs of disease and be more susceptible to invasion by external disease factors. Thus, health and disease may be defined in terms of the harmony or disharmony of the Zangfu and their associated Jingluo. The three categories of disease factors, external, internal, and neither external nor internal, have been listed in Chapter 4, and for each of the five Zam, the origins of their patterns of disharmony have been discussed, with outline diagrams relating disease factors to pattern of disharmony, and the different patterns of disharmony to each other. Later, in Chapter 16, the interrelationships of Zangfu and disease factors will be looked at in more detail in terms of the origins of specific common disease patterns. The concern here is with three patterns which may arise from the action of disease factors in the body and then, in their turn, precipitate further disharmony. These three patterns are stagnation, phlegm, and internal wind. Stagnation. Generally, in TCM, stagnation implies stagnation of movement, specifically the movement of substances, and especially the movement of qi, shui, and jingye. The patterns of stagnant qi and stagnant shui have been mentioned in Chapter 3 on the substances, and stagnation of Jingye on page 84. Slowing or impairment of the flow of circulating substances may be associated with obstruction and blockage, and with the accumulation and stagnation of these substances. This may result in local excess, pain, and swelling. Stagnation may be the result of external cold and damp, which slow and impede the movement of qi, but it may also facilitate the invasion of these external factors into the body, just as it may be associated with accumulation of internal cold and damp. Indeed, stagnation and external or internal cold and damp are so closely interwoven that it is better to view them all as part of one pattern. Stagnation of qi, damp, or phlegm may eventually give rise to heat and to patterns of blazing fire, damp heat, and phlegm fire, respectively. This transformation may be aggravated by the presence of internal or external heat, and there is a close relationship between stagnation, external heat, damp, and phlegm. The Zang Fu show patterns of disharmony of stagnation and cold. For example, stagnation of cold in Ganjin Wo, and, and of stagnation and heat, for example, damp heat in Pangguan. Some Zangfu have patterns of stagnation of both heat and cold types. For example, Fei may retain both phlegm heat and phlegm cold, and Xin may have patterns of cold phlegm, misting Xin or phlegm fire agitating Xin. Some of the main origins of stagnation are outlined in figure 14.1. Stagnation may arise from deficiency of qi and xue, or it may give rise to these patterns. Trauma may result in the retardation in the flow of qi and xue in an area of the body, and this weakened area may then be invaded by external disease factors or form a focus for problems such as B patterns or arthritis at a later date. For example, when age and overwork have resulted in general weakness in qi and xue circulation. Deficiency of the yang of the body, the dynamic force that assists movement, will result in retarded circulation of qi and xue and hence, perhaps, in stagnation. This may be manifest as deficient shen yang, and if this then results in deficient pi yang, there will be impairment of transformation and transportation, with deficiency of qi and xue, and possibly also accumulation and stagnation of Jingye, forming patterns of damp and phlegm. P is said to form phlegm, and Fei to store it. Hence, if the dispersing and descending functions of Fei are reduced, and weakness of P leads to production of phlegm, this may accumulate in Fei and lead to further impairment of dispersing and descending. Alternatively, phlegm may obstruct the orifices of Shin, or deficient Qi and Yang of Shin may result in stagnation of Xin Xue, since Shin governs movement of Xue and Fei governs movement of Qi, factors that affect Zhou Qi. For example, chest injury or emotional depression may give rise to stagnation of Qi and Xue. The Zang perhaps most strongly associated with stagnation is Gan. Depression of Gan Qi associated with the impairment of the Gan function of maintaining free, smooth, even, and unobstructed flow of Qi may be associated with stagnation of both Qi and Xue. Just as emotional stagnation may originate depression of Gan and Gan Qi, or may arise from it. So stagnation of qi and xue may be the origin or the effect of a depression of gan qi. External cold and damp may, over a long period, depress shen and pi yang, and thus depress both movement of substances in general and the metabolism of jing yep in particular. Damp and phlegm may then accumulate with further stagnation in the system, in Xin or Fei, or in Jingluo generally. Wind, cold, and damp may invade specific areas with local retardation and stagnation of qi and xue. And this occurs especially where other factors, for example, trauma, have already weakened circulation. In addition, patterns of stagnant xue may arise in certain febrile conditions. For example, the stagnant xue which may occur in puerperal fever and which is termed heat invading the uterus. Phlegm. Phlegm has been discussed in some detail under P and under GAN. Basically, phlegm arises from deficiency of the transformation and transportation functions of P, resulting in accumulation and stagnation of turbid jianye, which eventually condenses as phlegm. Phlegm may occur as sputum in the respiratory system or as insubstantial phlegm obstructing the orifices of shin or senses. It may obstruct the flow of qi in Jinluo, causing numbness or paralysis. Or phlegm may accumulate, forming subcutaneous lumps or enlargement of glands. Phlegm may be associated with external wind cold, as in facial paralysis, with internal cold and damp, as in deficient Shen and Pi Yang, with heat and fire, as in flame fire agitating Shin, or with fire and wind, as in blazing gunfire and stirring of gun wind. Itself a product of stagnation, phlegm leads to further stagnation in the body. Internal wind. Internal wind has been discussed in Chapter 9 of Gan and its relationship with phlegm on page 116. Stagnation, phlegm, and internal wind may be closely interrelated, and two Zang in particular are involved, Gan and Pi. Deficiency of P with the resulting accumulation of damp and phlegm may result in stagnation of the movement of qi. Depression of Gan qi may invade P and aggravate deficiency of Pi qi and also directly result in stagnation of qi and xue. The stagnant qi may eventually give rise to heat, for example, to blazing gunfire, leading to the stirring of gun wind. The hyperactive Gangyang, blazing gunfire, and gunwind may rise up the body in combination with a phlegm, obstructing the orifices of the senses and the channels of the head, with signs of insanity or loss of consciousness. Summary. Interrelationship forms a basic theme throughout this book. This chapter examined the interrelationships of the Zang Fu with each other and with the disease factors, in terms of yin-yang, substances, Jinluo, and tissues. The next chapter considers Zang Fu interrelationships in terms of emotional disharmony.